Beep-bop-a-lula, baby, sure sounds fine. Beep-bop-a-lula, sweetie, every time.
Okay, I'm sitting here riding in the car with who could be our next president.
I had actually wanted Vanessa to do this, to become the next president of the United States, because I really personally feel that we need a woman's touch to deal with the many numerous issues that are confronting people.
Yes, but behind every man is a woman, so that's me. So
Oh, okay, that's good.
you could be the forefront.
Problems that are confronting people, problems that are confronting nature, problems that are confronting everyone. Because I believe the next president of the United States should be somebody who's a problem solver. The problem solvers think not like politicians. They think like engineers. And an engineer basically identifies a problem and uses systems thinking to evaluate all the parameters, weighs and measures stresses, parameters, and then they come up with a proposed solution. And when they come up with a proposed solution, it's just on paper to begin with, because they rarely get it right to begin with. And they get a whole bunch of people involved, and they think through every aspect of it, and then they come up with some kind of design. The design has to be prototyped, it has to be tested and validated, and eventually, if they do it right, they design a bridge or an airplane that won't fall out of the sky, or they design a way of crafting an environment in which all the species in that environment can prosper, ideally. And then a problem is solved, and then people can start bitching and complaining about something else. So
it sounds like we have some agreement from the audience already.
yes, we have someone who couldn't possibly vote for me in this audience right now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Her name is Pat. She's Vanessa's aunt from England, and she couldn't vote for me, so she can say yes to vote for me, but she'd have to get somebody from the United States. So become a pen pal with Pat, and then Pat will say, please vote for me for Jeff. I don't care who else you vote for, but just vote for Jeff.
Well, tell us about your party. You're running on a third party system.
Yes, we're going to create a whole new party of one. It's called Green Libertarianism. Green because everyone in this world should be thinking about leaving the planet in a more pristine condition than they were born into, so that generations 5 from now, 10, 100, 1,000, all get to enjoy the beauty that surrounds us in the natural environment. And if you look around, we're on Highway 77 headed towards Tucson. We're out in the middle of it. We have friendly saguaro trees waving to us. They're all agreeing. They're always saying, hi Jeff, hi Pat, hi Vanessa. Please run for the office of presidency and then take good care of us. And I say, I will, but I'm not going to promise that I'm going to handshake you, because if you try to high five one of those things, man, you're
saguaro, yes, or a cactus.
Moving on. Did you stop?
Okay.
Now, if I had done this right, because we were all talking about how somebody should really run for office. Somebody who really runs for office has to have one main parameter. They don't want the job. So you think about it. If they want the job, there's only three reasons why they may want it. One is they think they're the Messiah for their whatever political religious faith, and they're out there to save everybody. 2, they want the job because they're egomaniacs. Or 3, they want the job because they think they're the best person to deal with it. Now let me tell you right now, I don't want the job. I don't think I'm the best person to deal with all the problems of the planet. I'm not a religious messiah, and I don't really have an ego except when it comes to playing jazz, guitar, and piano, or a little bit of my ego leaks in because I want to do better than I do. So in picturing this, what I saw was somebody like, I'd love Jerry Brown. This is how Jerry Brown ought to run. He's been a really effective governor of California. He doesn't have a job right now, but he's not female and he's kind of elderly, so I don't know if he'd do it. But if I were Jerry Brown, I would step up to a podium with a piece of paper with my speech on it. And I would take that piece of paper and I would rip it right down the middle, and I would properly recycle it in an appropriate receptacle. Then I would just go on and speak my mind. Why? Because people who really care about stuff can talk about it without looking at a bunch of notes or looking at a teleprompter screen. They don't need somebody else to write their speeches, and they don't have to put little free word phrases in it that are designed to capture the news cycle. After all, Jerry, like Jeff, doesn't really want the job. That's the best kind of person to run for office. And that means if a person doesn't want the job, they can do something like what I'm doing. Just say, make me president. I know there's no way on heaven or earth that that's going to happen. So I can make this my one shot, and then I can say, look, I allowed people to vote for me, and I ran for office, and I gave it a shot, and I proved that somebody who doesn't want the job won't get elected. All right.
So if you do a write-in, you want to spell your name?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. If anybody out there in La La Land wants to vote for me, I'm not going to be listed on any primaries. There's no Green Libertarian Party. I won't be on any ballots in any state in the United States or any of its territories, if even they get a chance to vote. You have to simply write my name, and you have to spell it right, because if you don't spell it right, they will attribute it to a different Jeff. So you write in Jeff space Barbour, and that way Jeff Barbour gets all the votes. Now, there will be numerous other Jeff Barbers on the planet, and I hope if I win that the right one gets to be the President of the United States. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
You have to be a write-in. As a Green Libertarian, I've already explained the green side is pretty straightforward. Let us work together and make sacrifices and be ingenious to find ways to live in better harmony with all the systems of the planet. All the systems that make all the growth and life and perpetuation of things possible. We have ecologists. They can figure out this stuff. Let's get them involved in public policy to come up with systems that make sustainability possible. The green side's easy, but what about libertarianism? Libertarianism is a very beautiful thing because it's meaningless in a sense. Everybody agrees we don't want any more laws than necessary. Come on, who wants any more laws and regulations than you need? The difference is, some people want laws and regulations that accomplish a whole bunch of stuff that other people don't want to accomplish. For instance, they don't want anybody saying you have to provide for your retirement by contributing to Social Security. They want to say, go out and get a job, make some money, put some money in the bank, invest in the stock market, and you will have enough money to retire on. That's kind of a libertarian that says, dude, you are responsible for your retirement. Whereas somebody who's more socially minded would say, you know, people don't do that. They go out and spend every dollar they can. By the way, the capitalists are out there anyway, advertising a whole bunch of bullshit stuff to get them to buy a bunch of stuff so they won't have any money in their bank account and they won't have anything saved up. So, bottom line is, who's right? Somebody who's socialist and wants to have some kind of Social Security and says, you know, damn well right, people aren't going to save the money. Or somebody who's an ultra-libertarian and says, take care of yourself. If you don't have any money when you get old, become homeless, go out on the street, and then walk around with a basket and hope somebody will drop a banana in it. Okay, so what libertarianism means, if it's rightly done, is it says we have laws where we need them, and we don't have laws where we don't need them. Well, if you're a politician, you make laws to appeal to a segment of the population large enough to get you voted in. That's not engineering. That's electioneering. And if you're a libertarian, you say, no, dude, we don't need any laws. People should be able to do whatever they damn well please. If they want to dump motor oil from their car into the soil and it goes in the water table and pollutes the water and makes people sick and kills animals, that's their choice. Let them do it. No, we don't dump our used motor oil onto the ground. We take it over to some place where it can be recycled. So somewhere in between these two things, absolute perfect freedom of doing whatever you want to do regardless of the consequences and the blowback for everybody else. And boy, we are going to script every aspect of your life on the other extreme. There's an answer. Okay, and that answer is problem solving based on engineering thinking of holistic systems and how they all interact. So green libertarianism. Hey, it's an idea. It's not an ideal. It's not idealistic. It's not a religion. It's basically how we describe everything in the mixed public, private, and environmental spheres. Somewhere between letting people do whatever they damn well please and forcing people to live a certain way, there's the best answer, and that answer gives people a certain amount of freedom so they can make choices and suffer the consequences or the benefits. And the other extreme, which is they get to do whatever they damn well please and muck up everything for everybody else. So now we know what a green libertarian is, right? Yeah, right. Basically, it's just solving problems in the most elegant way possible to make sure that there's balance in everything. Balance. That everything balances out. The books balance out. So, at this point, I think I've pretty much explained where I'm coming at. 1, I don't want the job. 2, I'm a green libertarian. I believe in sustainability and freedom of choice. 3, I think all politics ought to be about problem solving and not promoting some ridiculous self-aggrandizing end. People should forget the fact that they think they're the best person for the job. They aren't. For anybody who wants the job, you really better dig into it, because if they want the job, there's something going on there that's complete weirdness. All right? Go. Now, I'm not going to get to be President of the United States, nor do I want the job. I have a perfectly good life fooling around with jazz piano, guitar, learning the drums, maybe the bass later on, reading and writing, discovering stuff. But I'm going to talk about some weird stuff. This is really weird stuff. First off, I want to tell all those out there who believe in the UFO reality for them that there's a deep state that knows about UFOs and is hiding it from the rest of us, that if I were the President of the United States, I believe in transparency. Now, I don't know if UFOs are real or not, but I will tell you this. If I were the President of the United States, I would begin a rigorous investigation into all manner of weirdness, like 9/11. Conspiracy thinkers are kind of weird, but in a sense they're right. They're trying to connect up the dots. They don't always get it right. In fact, they may rarely get it right, but at least they're thinking beyond the idiocy of what they read in the news cycle or see on Fox, CNN, or MSNBC, or even National Public Radio or PBS. They're trying to think deeper. And dudes, I appreciate that. That's systems thinking. You may not always get it right, but at least you're headed in the right directions with your critical thinking faculties God gave everyone. Ready?
But there is one law that you do talk about, and that is...
Oh yeah, there are basically 2 fundamental laws, and this comes out in my book, Blue Planet and Beyond. There's a new form of government that's described there, and everybody points out by the time we ever get that new form of government, that we won't have any of these problems anymore. It's called forums of scale. But basically, in this new form of government, law is based on 2 things. There's law that relates to sustaining the natural environment, and there's law that has to do with one thing. Nobody gets to impose on someone else. So in the social sphere, somebody doesn't come and intimidate you to get you to do something. Now, if they want to kind of like seduce you into it, that's different. But nobody gets to force anybody else to participate in any activity, purchase any product, be exposed to any toxins in the environment, etc., because that breaks the law. The law is the law of non-imposition, which is the basis of all rule of law. And in terms of natural law, the law is precautionary principle. You don't get to do anything that could potentially screw up the natural environment without it being fully vetted and tested before you do it. Because this world is full of all kinds of blowback from people just willy-nilly launching all kinds of silly, stupid things into the marketplace and beyond, that has resulted in the pollution of the environment. And anybody who wants to learn about that, for instance, watch some of Vanessa's videos on Tucson and the problems we're having with the water supply there as a result of effluent dumped by the avionics industry in the post-World War II era.
So, and the one sin you say that mankind is
It's an interesting thing. You know, if you think about all the religious texts and everything else that exists, they all have moral prescriptions like the Ten Commandments. But when you really, really think about it, the real one rule you don't want to break, besides non-imposition and destroying the environment, is don't be expedient about things. People take shortcuts with all kinds of things, and when they take shortcuts, that is the basis of all sin. For those of you who know out there about what is called the quest for the Holy Grail, one interpretation of the Grail quest is don't take shortcuts. If you want to be an enlightened being, yeah, you may meditate, but don't go and take some kind of hallucinogenic drug. Hallucinogenic drugs affect your brain in ways you can't anticipate. If you want to sit down and meditate like a Buddhist and arrive at nirvana, fine. That's not a shortcut. It's something you do from within yourself. But when you depend on other things around you, things become expedient, and ultimately you're going to end up in a very, very bad position. Yourself, your family, and your community.
So tell us your vision of how you would resolve the education problem in the United States.
One of the biggest problems we have in all evolving countries that are developing more and more governments is they tend to condense power up the chain. So you get fewer and fewer people who have more and more power. And people with more and more power and less of them have an inability to think on a broad enough basis and with enough altruism to address all true needs. This is true in governance, and it's true in education. In education, we have these massive unified school districts, and we have this Common Core curriculum. These are all very few people way, way up who think they have the answers and don't, imposing them on everybody else. Okay, but what's the answer then for education? Easy. You learn best what you learn for yourself. What does that mean? That means you go back to the 1880s, you set up one-room schoolhouses in every neighborhood. You have a teacher and an aide, and you have all kids of all grades up to puberty, because after that they become problematic. And you have the older kids teach the younger kids, the teachers teach the older kids, and make sure that the younger kids learn the right thing from the older kids. You set up 20 to 30 students in each class. You could probably even have 40. I've done the spreadsheet on this. You can take the money that's currently being spread on elementary education, and you could set up, buy a house, and every 30 or 50 or 60 houses, the kids could walk to school, go to, educate along with other kids younger and older, learn to both teach and to learn at the same time, and the teachers won't be stressed. Now, if you want to have some kind of graduation exam at the end of it, fine, but don't make it compulsory. Make it so the teachers have feedback to see how well the educational process has gone forward in the one-room schoolhouse. If in reality we actually do post this as a YouTube video, this is what I recommend. One of the most valuable things about YouTube is commentary. People can go in and watch anything they want, and they can discredit what's being said, or they can reinforce it, they can ask questions, they can whatever they want. All you got to do is, if you like any of these ideas or don't like any of these ideas, then leave a comment, and as long as I'm feeling up to it, don't feel too overburdened, and because I would rather be practicing guitar or piano or drums, I or Vanessa will add a comment about what you said. And meanwhile, even if we don't, you can argue with other people about this stuff. But I want to make one more observation. The real key to the next election is going to come down to two things. Whoever gets elected is going to be authentically whatever they are, and that's sort of why Trump got elected to begin with. And the second thing is, whoever gets elected is going to be a problem solver. They're not going to appeal to people's mass hallucinations about reality. And And that's what I'm referring to when I talk about the Democratic Party. We already know, unless the Mueller investigation comes out, and he's squeaky clean, or at least clean enough, the guy's going to run again in 2020. This is what I would say, however, to Donald Trump. Trump, you're probably a pretty cool guy to hang out with, and you can have plenty of wonderful conversations. But you got to start thinking about problem solving. And to do that, you have to start thinking about real problems, not people coming over from Honduras. The real problem is Honduras. It is not a wall in Mexico. The United States needs to be working with other nations to create conditions in countries where people are fleeing to bring about a reinstatement of the rule of law so they'll stick around instead of traveling 2,000 miles and climbing over a barbed wire fence or surrendering to a port of entry.
But through the United Nations.
Yeah, the United Nations, other countries, South America. You know, some people aren't so confident about the United Nations. Just find some partners and deal with these issues. Be a problem solver.
So, any final words?
Well, only because we were just talking about what we were going to call this video, which is pretty much a lark, but anyway. It's going to be called DIY, or Do It Yourself. Run for president. And basically all I'm going to say is, to make that valid as the title is, look, anybody out there can do what I just
When
did.
times are tough,
Sit down with a video camera, talk honestly, talk authentically, explain your point of view of how you would be the president
when
of the
you are
United States,
stuck,
and then just put it up on
too
YouTube.
slow.
And then if people want to write your name instead of mine,
in the flow.
thanks.